Hello. It has been a while since I've done a proper video, and I know a lot of people out there have the same problem. I just sometimes get into a bit of anxiety, a bit of a panic, and I find it really difficult to come back and film something. Initially, I've been kind of round the houses to do this video today. This is the new folio that I created, and initially I was going to come and do a video to create the folio, and then I thought, well, it's the same way to put together as the previous folio, very similar. Obviously the patterns are different, so I didn't actually think that was a good idea. And then I actually had a bit of a haul from a charity shop a couple of days ago, and I thought, well, maybe I'll do a bit of a haul video. And then I realised that the lace that I own already was a bit of a mess, and I could probably do a whole video on sorting that out and showing you the lace that I picked up. So I thought, no, I'll leave that. And then I came back to this, and when I cut this out, basically what I did was, there are several different backing sheets for this kit. So I printed the kit out, and then on the back I used various backings, and I had quite a lot of scraps. These are some of the scraps. So these are just like the edges of the paper, so you can see there, that's just the edge of the backing sheet. So I thought what I would do is I would come back to something very basic to get me started. I was chatting to several people over the course of my lack of mojo and lack of kind of I don't know, confidence, I'm not sure what you'd call it really. And several people had put in the thread, and Corey of course said make some clusters. So I did. I just sat and made a whole heap of clusters one evening on the sofa. I've sewn them now, but they are all kind of ready to add a little embellishment of some sort, you know, because that's what we do, isn't it? We part make things in advance ready for a journal or whatever it is we're making. I turned some into these kind of little envelope, I'll show you what these are in a moment, but they're just like little envelope pockets. So I added some to envelopes once I had. So I'm just going to make some clusters using my scraps from the folio that I made, but obviously any paper scraps, scrapbooking kits, digital scraps that you've got left. And you know, they've been done a million times before. It's nothing new. I'm just going to give a couple of little tips for how I do it. So these are all square cut, and I'm okay with that. I'm going for square cut scraps for these. Quite happy with that. I've got a few little scraps left over from these previous clusters. So they're the previous ones, and these are just little scraps left over from that. So, you know, let's not waste them. I know some of you throw scraps like that away, but I've got mine. I've got the smallest amount of lace scraps you could possibly imagine. That's just what was to hand without going through my scrap box. And I literally went to my scrap box and pulled out a few bits from the front. So this is what I've got, you know, a bit of a screwed up bag. This is some book spine from taking a book apart. This is the only thing I did actually go looking for, and this is an envelope that I got my Mackie stamps in. Okay, Mackie stamps come in these amazing little envelopes with one of the stamps on there, and I'm going to use that maybe. And these are just literally paper scraps. There's nothing special here at all. But sometimes I know it's hard to kind of get a cluster going. People worry about how things work, how things match. And I'm going to work today in a bit of a different way. So I'm going to work onto a base. Now, I think it was Gail Agostinelli, the amazing Gail, as we all know her, came up with this fabulous idea quite a long time ago, where you just start with a sheet and you stick all of your bits onto the sheet, and then you tear your clusters up, which is amazing. I've done that, and it's really helpful. But sometimes if you want to make a cluster and you're not really sure where to start, having a base, and these are just punches, these are the center of some what are they called, specimen slides that I cut out, and this is the center of those, and these are just little I'm not even sure what these are from, but again, they're little pieces. So I'm going to make 9 clusters using a base. But what we don't want to do is think that everything has to fit into this base. If things come out, that's fine. It's just a starting point. Obviously, actually, maybe I'm not going to ink them. I'm not going to ink them. So I'm starting here. This is my starting point, and I'm just going to lay them out like that. I've got my little pile of scraps here. I've got my little pile of lace here. Let's get those out of the way. And then I've got the main scraps and my scrap box scraps. So it's all scraps. I've got 4 piles here. Let's get started. I'm going to start by putting something on top of my base. And again, like I said, you could be using scrapbooking paper, any digital offcuts, plain paper. It's all works. It's all fine. Anything goes with these kind of scrap clusters. I'm not overthinking. I'm just going to layer some stuff down. And some of these are double-sided, so it might be that I can kind of look around and add things. So this is quite cute. Got a bit of a blue theme on here. I'm not worried about over-inking. I'm just doing a little bit. Let's see what comes up. Just pulling from this pile. I'm not looking for things. And you see what I mean about not worrying about this overlaying. We can have this little bit sticking out. That's all good. And I don't mind having straight edges in my clusters. I'm just literally adding these first. So I want 1 piece on each. Okay, now I'm going to move over to this pile here. And I'm just going to take, let's make that a bit smaller. Add that. Bit of plain. I actually really like that. Bit of lined. Bit of grid paper. Let's put that in. What else have we got? We've got some paper with some writing on. Darlington 1960. That says. I'll go for a piece of that. And like I said, this is completely random. I've got a bit of green here, so I actually really like that hole, like that little hole. I'm going to add that. You know, they look a bit of a mess. What's going on there? But, you know, it will come together. They will come together. Put that there. Right, now I've got a few of these little scraps from the last batch, and this came from a few pieces that came from Taperology with I've got the number there, quite like that. Let's add that there. This is a piece from some digital or other. I'm going to come back and ink in a minute, I think. I'm just trying to get things down. Get things into place. We'll have a little bit of text there. Go back to this. I'm going to go for a piece of lined paper over here, just because that looks a little bit plain at the background. And then we've got some tiny bits, which I think we might add in a little while. But for now, they've all kind of got a bit of a base. Okay, that's quite easy, quite quick. But let's actually, we've got another little piece of square here. I'm going to add that there just to break that up very slightly. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of ink some of these pieces like this. I'm just going to very lightly ink bits that might show, and then I'm going to put a small amount of glue to put those in place. That one's already inked, I think. So that's kind of all I'm going to do for now. I'm going to just put a little bit of glue and pop that down. I'm just going to tear that off. Put that down. So that is a very, very simple just start of a cluster. I might give this a little bit of an ink, and again just roughly work out where to put my glue. I'm going to sew mine, so I'm not worried about them being perfectly glued, but we do want a bit of glue. And the bonus about using this back piece is we've got options once we think about how we're going to use them. So I'm going to just go ahead and do the rest of these. I'll speed it up. Okay, so that was very, very straightforward. Just a little bit of, you know, these, they don't look anything special at all at the moment. I've literally just taken a bit from these three piles and kind of worked out what I want to do. Now, some of them do look very plain, so we might want to jazz them up very slightly, but we still have to think we're going to be putting on some kind of element or main focal point. So we might add a butterfly or a flower, we might add a stamp, we might add a piece of ephemera. We could be adding anything to these. So at the moment I'm just literally looking to fill this cluster with a few elements, but not necessarily a focal point. Now let's move on to the bits of lace we have and decide kind of what we can do with those. I'm just going to have a little play with these, and like I said, I've got just hardly anything here really, nothing nothing exciting, just background pieces. I think we need a piece on there. We've got this, which obviously is very white at the moment, so I'm just going to grab a little piece of scrap and just ink this. And the glue's not necessarily brilliant at holding this kind of trim down where we've got lots of gaps, but I'm going to sew mine. You don't have to sew, and if you don't sew, you do need to spend a little bit more time on your glue. Right, I think that's not bad for the start of a cluster. So we've just got a few little simple, messy, don't look like much at the moment kind of clusters of various paper. I mean, this one looks very plain. This one. This one. Okay, I'm going to give the glue just a few minutes to dry, and then I'm going to put one row of stitching on all of these, and then I will be back to carry on. Have them all sewn, and I sew mine in one long line. So I'm just going to trim these apart. Filming is a real kind of real issue for me at the moment. I'm trying. Right, so we have 9 clusters in a very short space of time. So we kind of I want to look at how we can make these look different, how we can embellish these for different journals, even though they've all got the same kind of background. So the first thing I pulled out is some of my Tim Holtz photo booths, and also these were cut out from the photo page on one of the scrapbooking papers from Tim Holtz. We've got a guy here, you know, pretty much. That's a bit big though, isn't it? For if you were making bigger clusters, then obviously you could certainly add. Oh, he looks a happy chap. I'm not sure what the paper pad is, but they're just little people. You could use any. I think I quite like that. I do quite like that. So that's, you know, you can use your photo booth or your photographs. A few of my labels, so we can add labels to these. Something, that one's quite. Let's have a little look. Oh, that's a bit Christmassy, isn't it? Let's have a look. Ah, field guide. That's quite cool. And you can decide which way up you want that, because that can then make a little pocket. I like that. Do I like that? No. I think I like that. So we've got a label. I've pulled out a couple of small paper dolls. That's quite good. Although this is one that was cut badly. I don't know if you can see. She's got a little chunk of her face missing there. So let's swap her for this one. So we've got a paper doll. I've got more Tim Holtz. These are florals. Let's grab one of those. That's quite nice. Then I have the Field Notes snippets. So again, go quite small here. That's cute, isn't it? A little flower. I'm just going to bring the camera down even more. Oh, there you go. Right, and we've got a toadstool there. That's quite cool, like that. Okay, this is from my postage kit, little pieces. So I'm just trying to show you that you can get a very different look. That's quite good. Different look with different add-ons, if you like. And then I have my little Kerry fellow butterflies. Teeny tiny. Cute. I didn't cut these by hand. These were, oops, lost one. These were done on my Cricut. Let's take this one and see how this will look. And what I'm going to do, I think, is just take three butterflies in different colours to add to that one. So that's a very colourful one. I'm not sure about that actually. Let's try that again. I think that needs something much bigger. That one. Let's come back to this. I think that one needs something blue or something red. Or maybe something blue and red. Maybe that. So let's find something bigger for this this little one here, and I've come back to my Tim Holtz pieces that are, oh yeah, that one's quite nice, isn't it? On there. I think that one. Elements on each one. I don't know if that's the right fit, actually. Okay, I'm going to swap that for this kind of orange flower. I think that will stand out slightly better on there. Right, so these little elements all need a bit of an ink before they go on. So I'm going to do that, and I'll speed it up for you. Right, so they're all inked. Now, normally I wouldn't decorate these until I was ready to put them into a journal, but I just wanted to show the kind of difference you can get just adding a different element to a cluster. So the theme of your focal point makes a huge difference to the cluster, and there are still other things we can do to these. Okay, so all of my pieces are now glued. So we've got postal theme, floral, so that could go in a botanical. We've got a paper doll, another floral, we've got a photograph, toadstool on this kind of mini one. Got those really bright, beautiful butterflies from Kerry Fellow's shop, and that's Witchcraft You Do. We've got a little Field Guys one, and we have this rather large floral, which would be brilliant for our envelope. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this one, and I'm just going to put a straight stitch all the way down those butterflies. There we go. You can hardly see it, but they're so small. I did not want those to fall off and get lost. So that's those. Now I'm going to come back to the beginning of the video. I pulled out that envelope. Now I love these. I can't ever bring myself to throw them away, and unfortunately, although I love that, I'm actually going to work on this side. I'm going to grab my little, actually I don't even know if I'm going to do that, so I'm going to add this to that, but I am going to kind of embellish this a little bit. I'm just going to put a little tear and fold that over just to give that a little bit of a, so you can see where the opening is. I'm going to ink along that opening and also those little edges. And I would normally do a much better and not so rushed. It's just when you're nervous about doing a video, you kind of rush to get it over with. You just do. Can't help it. I'm going to glue that little side down, just with a teeny bit of glue. That one I'm not. I'm going to add something else there, but that is a perfect decoration for this envelope. Now I'm only going to glue this part just down one side, and that will glue in place there like that. And then once that's in a journal, we've got a little tuck spot here behind the flower. Now that's going to be a little bit of a problem, so what I'm going to do is grab my jar of teeny tiny paper clips, and if I can get it to work, because these are very fiddly and they're quite stiff, I'm going to put, brilliant, they're being nice to me. I'm going to put that little tiny paper clip on there. So there we go. We have a little tuck spot here. If you wanted to, you could glue that down, but that is how we can use some of these clusters to add to scrap envelopes or junk envelopes. So, breathe. That's my little clusters, quick clusters using a base. Don't forget, everything on here was added to one of these shapes. We did 3 of each, so the shapes are on the back, and it actually makes them quite sturdy to turn them into a little tuck spot if you want. Just having that one, you can see I've actually worked on upside down. But you know, that's fine. And we've got a little gap here as well, so we could still slide something else in there if you wanted to add something later. But you know, this one I think is a little bit unsecure too. So I'm going to grab my tiny attacher and I'm just going to staple that just to make sure that stays in place. And actually we could staple a little bit of the lad on that picture just in each corner to give that a little bit of security. And you can use it as decoration as well, can't you? So let's add a staple to the top and the bottom of that postage stamp. There we go, I like that. I don't think we need any more. Well, let's add one here. Do we want one on the toadstool? Why not? While we're at it, let's add one. So, you know, that's just a few little clusters and an idea of what you can do with them in a very short space of time. Like I said, I know it's been done 100 times before, just to get me back in the swing of things. I hope you enjoy that. I probably will be back either decorating some more clusters if I can't come up with anything new, or maybe just share that little haul I got from the charity shop and maybe start to organise my stash. So thank you so much for joining me. I really am sorry I have been absent. I have been adding some freebies to Ko-fi, so do go and check them out if you haven't already picked those up. And I'll also link the new Folio kit down below. I hope you like it. I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.